Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to explore how the very foundation of American work is being, well, rapidly rewritten. We are looking at a shift so incredibly profound, it's literally forcing us to question the basic rules of the economy that we've relied on for over a century. I want you to picture the year 2035 for a second. Take a look at the chair you're sitting in right now. Consider the very real possibility that the entity taking over your role in a few years might not be doing so because you messed up. It won't be because you failed or because your company went under. It'll be because an entirely new kind of workforce has stepped up to the desk.
Because think about it. For the first time in modern history, the thing replacing human labor doesn't need to sleep, it doesn't need a dental plan, it's definitely not going to ask for a raise, and unlike your current coworkers, it won't ever steal your lunch out of the break room fridge. It just quietly improves its capabilities every single day, and it's moving into offices, accounting departments, and hospitals right this very minute.
Which brings us directly to the imminent AI disruption. Let's look at the sheer scale of what's quietly happening in careers we've spent decades believing were totally safe. According to some of the most alarming projections from economists, we're talking about nearly 100 million American jobs sitting squarely in the impact zone of the largest labor disruption our country has ever seen. I know, it sounds almost impossible, but then you realize it's already unfolding inside software companies, law firms, and the exact professions we thought were basically immune to automation.
So, what is the actual scale of this shift? To really grasp the global picture, we got to look at the macroeconomic data pouring in. The International Monetary Fund estimates that a staggering 60% of jobs across advanced economies are exposed to artificial intelligence in some way. Think about that for a second. We aren't talking about some niche industry or a highly specialized profession here. We are talking about way more than half of the modern workforce being exposed to this technology. Bring that data home to the US, and you're looking at roughly 60 million current jobs facing significant replacement risk. That is about 42% of all American workers. 60 million people whose daily tasks are right in the crosshairs of automation. And the financial stakes? They are just massive. Those 60 million exposed jobs represent about $3.7 trillion in annual wages. That creates an economic target larger than the GDP of most actual nations on Earth. The economic incentive for companies to automate this labor pool is, quite frankly, absolutely undeniable. Now you might be thinking, sure, but the Industrial Revolution was a big deal too, right? True, but here's what makes this moment entirely unique in history. The Industrial Revolution required factories, railroads, power grids. It took decades to physically build and deploy all that across the country. But the generative AI revolution? It moves at software speed. It spreads like wildfire. It deploys instantly with a simple software update. And boom, suddenly millions of machines are capable of entirely new cognitive tasks. In fact, Goldman Sachs estimates that a solid 25% of all work hours in the United States can already be automated by AI. Not in some distant sci-fi future, literally today. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that 1 out of every 4 things you do at your job could suddenly be done by a computer program.
And that leads us to a fascinating trend, the great collar reversal.
This is honestly the most mind-bending paradigm shift of our lifetime. For a century, we were all sold the exact same formula, right? Study hard, get a degree, land a cushy white-collar office job, and you're set for life. But AI excels at cognitive labor, which completely flips that logic on its head. Today, having a fancy college degree might actually increase your exposure to automation. Crazy, right? Just look at the cognitive jobs we thought were the ultimate security blankets. Accountants, paralegals, junior developers, they're highly exposed now. Meanwhile, professions that require physical presence and unpredictable human interaction, like your plumbers, electricians, or physical therapists, are incredibly resilient. Society used to view physical trades as sort of a fallback option, but today, they're turning out to be some of the most disruption-proof careers in the entire economy.
Let's pivot for a second and talk about the psychology of work.
Because at the end of the day, statistics don't lose jobs. Real people do. Somewhere in Ohio right now, a customer service rep is logging in, totally unaware that executives are testing AI to handle her exact conversations. Somewhere in Texas, a developer is realizing AI can spit out his code in a matter of seconds. We answer the question, who are you, with our job titles. So when you remove that, it creates massive cultural anxiety. This isn't just a story about economics, it's a profoundly human one. So why is this moving so fast? Let's look at the corporate incentive structures. If you've ever been in a boardroom, you know the drill. Every executive is in a total pressure cooker to do more with less. They need to grow faster, slash costs, and keep shareholders happy. AI promises to deliver all of that, simultaneously. To a mega corporation, automating a workflow doesn't look like destroying jobs. It looks like the ultimate efficiency hack. And as we know, in business, efficiency always wins.
And we are absolutely already seeing this boardroom logic play out in real time. Take tech giants like IBM, for example. They've actively paused hiring for thousands of back-office roles, and they're openly talking about AI's ability to just replace those functions entirely. Across Silicon Valley, companies are quietly reducing human headcount while pouring billions, literally billions, of dollars into AI infrastructure.
But here's where it gets really wild. Look at enterprise buyers. Nearly half of them are willing to let AI act as an autonomous decision-maker in lower-risk workflows. Really think about the gravity of that for a second. The conversation is no longer just about software helping employees do their jobs better. It's totally shifting toward the software actually becoming the employee.
This is exactly why white-collar workers are so on edge right now. It's an escalation. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. Once a piece of technology masters a single task, it moves on to taking over entire workflows. And once it's got the workflows down, it moves to managing complete departments. The logical conclusion of this escalation is exactly what has everyone holding their breath. Which brings us to the final and maybe most important piece of the puzzle: replacement versus transformation.
Look, before you assume we're permanently locked into some dystopian sci-fi movie, there's a really critical twist hidden in the data. The media headlines, they almost always focus on replacement, the complete elimination of a human role. But the underlying reality points to something much more optimistic: massive transformation. Humans leveraging AI as an unprecedented tool to elevate their own capabilities, doing things faster, smarter, and more creatively than ever before.
So the ultimate question isn't just about what AI is going to take away from us. It's really about how it's going to transform what remains. History rarely moves in straight lines, and the future is arriving in a disguise literally nobody expected, which leaves you with one vital question to answer for yourself. In this new AI-driven horizon, will your job simply be replaced, or are you going to be the one to transform it?